It's time to change the blade on the sawmill, so let's get busy. The first thing I need to do is get one blade separated from the other five you see sitting here in this death pretzel thing we got going on. That's actually five blades. They're all rolled up there together. This is what's left of a pack of 10 blades that I bought about a year ago. And they have this sturdy U-shaped holder in the middle that keeps the blades curled up, along with a wire twist tie that's holding the tops and the bottoms of the blades together down there at the bottom where they're touching. So once I've untwisted the wire at the bottom holding them all together on that end, I separate one blade from the rest and then retwist that wire to hold them together for me. And then I can move this blade up through the pretzel and get it out. Then I need to go back to the bottom and untie that twist tie again, take the blade out from the bottom, release it from the bottom, and then put them back together. The blade naturally wants to form a circle, not a pretzel, so you have to carefully hold on to it, of course, with gloves on until it's able to expand to its full circle, and then it's just going to sit there nicely until I'm ready for it. At that point, I need to go back to the mill. I had to raise the mill head up so that I could access the blade. Raising the blade up is not difficult, but it's enough exercise to feel like you're getting a little bit of a workout in your shoulder, but it's not too bad. I'm going to open the doors up where the blade is housed, and then I need to loosen the tension on the blade. Over on the driver's side of the mill, there's a two-sided handle, and that's how you tighten and loosen the blade. So I'm going to loosen the tension on the blade, and that'll make it easy to slip it on and off. You absolutely have to have it tight while you're cutting, but obviously we're not turning the mill on. We're just going to get the blade off and get the new blade put on. Now once I have that old blade, which it just slides right off the front there, once I have the old blade removed from the mill, I'll put it to the side so it can be resharpened. Blades can actually be resharpened many times if you don't beat them up too much. I'm gonna ask my husband to come over and give me a hand. It's totally doable by yourself, but it goes a lot quicker if you have someone else to manage one side while you're managing the other side. If he were not here, I would just use some clamps to help hold it steady on one side while I get the other side in, and then go back and finish that side. The blade is just going to slip right back in the way the old one came out. Obviously, the teeth need to be facing you, and it needs to be fully seated on the belt. There are belts, of course, that the blade sits on as it turns. You don't want to leave it hanging off the edge, or you'll find yourself doing it again because the blade will slip off when you tighten up the tension. So we just want to make sure that the blade is fully seated on the belts before we go any further. And then once we have the blade where we need it to go, we want to make sure that it's fully sitting on the belts. And the reason we want to make sure we tighten it back up is so that we can test for tracking once we have the blade in there, and it's just got some little blade guides that it needs to ride through. So that's why we're kind of fiddling with it, just trying to make sure that it's seated in the right place. Now we're going to tighten it back up, and then I'll come back around and I'm going to spin the wheel that turns the whole blade. This is what makes the blade go, makes it cut. And in real life, when you're spinning this thing, it sounds exactly like the TARDIS starting up. And if you watch Doctor Who, you'll recognize that sound immediately. And that is going to allow the blade to settle into its normal position. You got to have the right amount of the blade hanging off the front and the back of the belts. The Woodland Mills user's manual does a much better job of explaining that than I do. There's really no way to mess it up. Once you have the old blade off, you slide the new one on, make sure it's seated properly, not hanging off the edge, tighten the tension back up, spin the wheel a few times, make sure it's seated properly. You close everything back up, and then we're back in business.
Later